How's it, shticklers? Welcome to another fantastic episode 160. Today we're going to talk about The Last of Us Season 2 teaser. We'll get a little bit into Thomas's San Diego Comic-Con, and obviously we'll talk about how Deadpool and Wolverine is crushing in the box office. We'll also get into a few reviews of Abigail, Batman the Caped Crusader, and what is that one show that we typically watch?
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon Season 2 finale. Thanks for sticking around.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.
Aloha, and welcome to the Joystick Show, a weekly podcast where three friends from Hawaii talk story about pop culture things that bring us joy. Shakas mahalos for checking us out. If can, please like and subscribe on any and every podcast platform. Also on YouTube. A 5-star review is greatly appreciated and helps us out a ton. I'm your co-host Drake, and that's Scott.
How's it?
And that's Thomas.
What up, what up? So, I think everybody kind of knows what this episode is about. But, we got a few teaser trailers. We got, we'll just briefly touch on some of the things that happened at San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Yep.
Deadpool and Wolverine, because I've seen it twice now. I think Scott's seen it twice now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. A movie I've been really wanting to see popped up on Peacock, so I could watch it for free. Abigail, we'll talk about that. We pretty much have only gotten to like episode 6, I want to say, of this new show, Batman the Caped Crusader. So that'll be a fun one. And then let's talk about the House of the Dragon finale and the season overall. So a lot of great stuff. Let's kick it off with that teaser trailer though that dropped I think today, and it's for The Last of Us. If Pedro Pascal wasn't busy enough doing everything, the Mandalorian movie coming up, being Mr. Fantastic, being a just fantastic person in real life, along with coming back with The Last of Us Season 2. What did you guys think about this teaser? Because it's real short.
Yeah, it's real short. We get to see a lot of cool individuals from a bunch of different things that we love and enjoy. You're going to see some young Mazzino from Beef, Danny Ramirez from A Top Gun, Spencer Lord from The Good Doctor, and much, much more. I think the big one in there was Catherine O'Hara, which is pretty cool.
And Jeffrey Wright.
Oh yes, and Jeffrey Wright, of course. I thought it was pretty quick. It just showed us clips of stuff that we want to see, and brings us back to, remember when you saw the show and it was super good. But to your point earlier about Pedro Pascal, wouldn't it be a dream but also a nightmare to be his assistant right now? He's got so much stuff going on. Damn.
Yeah. He seems like a nice dude, so maybe it's more of a dream.
Yeah.
I don't know. For him, though, okay, this is going to lead into the San Diego Comic-Con. So I got to, lucky enough, be in the Marvel panel, and he came out with the rest of Fantastic Four, and they looked so dead. Not in like a rude way or anything. They just looked exhausted because they had flown from the UK where they're filming Fantastic Four all the way to San Diego, and immediately they said after they were done filming they were going to fly back. And they were all trying to be in good spirits and be hyped, but you could tell they were exhausted. So I'm thinking, how the hell can this guy do all of this? He's got his own indie projects going on, or smaller movies, I'll say. But he's got the Mandalorian movie supposed to drop the same year as Fantastic Four, and then he's got The Last of Us coming out next year too. The guy is busier than God. I don't know how he's gonna do it, but I love him. Everything he says is charming and sweet, and he seems like a normal person. It's great.
Yeah, he seems like one of those people. There's that saying never meet your heroes, but he seems like one of the good ones. Even if he's not having a good day, he'll be gentle and nice and gentle.
Yeah, he'll ask you if it's okay.
Yeah,
He'll give you his Fantastic Four.
Hey.
He's definitely about to stretch something. But
wow.
Double A.
I just don't want to follow
his time.
Okay. Just follow your train of thought.
Too far.
Wow.
Okay, wow. Okay, that's the line, huh?
Wow.
That's the line.
Yeah, that's the line. Here we go.
My bad.
No, literally, he went too far because he stretches.
Yeah.
Hey, again.
All right.
2 in a row.
2 in a row. I'm just gonna move on from here. We're going back to San Diego Comic-Con, though, is a blast, guys.
Cool.
It is just an amazing experience. The most hyped people in the world. people coming from all around the world. Artist Alley, I didn't spend as much time there as I wanted to. I looked for our friends from like California Inc. I ran into some other friends down here from San Diego who are comic book writers, creators, and all that stuff. But everything else, like the panels were fantastic this year. And obviously, like all I wanted from my San Diego Comic-Con experience was to be in Hall H for the Marvel panel. They hadn't been there since 2019. They obviously were back, and all the crazy announcements that have come out of it. Like we haven't recorded anything about that. I think we've been talking about it kind of just between ourselves, like through text and stuff. But was there any announcements from Comic-Con at all that you guys were like the most hyped about, surprised about? Yeah, what'd you think?
I mean, we kind of covered it. Fantastic Four. I mean, other than
Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was like hopefully the obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the obvious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wasn't there other like some? I feel like everything just got eclipsed by those things. So to be honest, I can't even recall some of the other things that took place.
Yeah. Yeah. So they kicked it off with like this Deadpool and Wolverine kind of multiverse. There was all these Deadpools dressed in all like cowboys and riding a dinosaur and like all these like kooky things, and then they had this like big song and dance entrance like with this full choir, and that kind of kicked things off. And then Kevin Feige did a little speech, then brought out Rob Delaney to like narrate the panels, and the first one they started off with was Captain America: Brave New World. And it was like Anthony Mackie, the guy who plays Joaquin Torres, I think Danny Ramirez, Tim Blake Nelson, and there was one other actor. And Giancarlo Esposito. Christina says I say that wrong all the time, but I'm telling her it's Italian. It's not Spanish. He spent time in Italy, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Can't make everything Spanish. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
tacos.
there's other cultures,
Not
like
all
the
the time.
Olympics is showing us. So yeah, but anyway, so he was up there and it was great. And Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford looked like they were having a blast. Like like if you've ever seen any interviews with Harrison Ford, he's kind of old and crotchety, but he looked like he was having fun. Like he was hulking out on stage. He was trying to chase Anthony Mackie and like kick him in the ass. Meanwhile, like Anthony Mackie is like talking shit about Tom Holland. Where Tom Holland was like, well, you don't have your own movie kind of thing. Where he's like, who I got my movie now? Harrison Ford. Like kind of stuff. So that was a ton of fun. The next one from there was Thunderbolts. And I gotta say, the cast dynamic is weird. Like, I'm excited for it because the trailer looked way better than I was imagining it could be. But it is a weird dynamic with the cast. Like, I felt like Sebastian Stan was like creeping on Florence Pugh so hard.
Okay.
And it was on stage in front of 6,000 people.
Yeah.
It was kind of awkward. I don't know if he was trying to just be funny, and it just, I don't know. I thought that was weird. Wyatt Russell was there, who played John Walker. I think he just knows people hate his character because he was just like, I'm just here. You guys are going to hate me, basically. I don't care. It was like, oh, okay. That's
all right.
Interesting. Maybe refreshing. I don't know. It just seemed a little off-putting. But the trailer, do you want me to go into it, or should you save this for another time?
Let's just save it for when it drops, and that way we can give the people what they're looking for.
Yeah, if you want to know more about it, hit DM us on Instagram or something. Thunderbolts, and then it went to Fantastic Four after that. I want to say.
Yep.
And that was really freaking cool because Matt Shackman came out and had talked about this was a dream and the concept of it, and this idea of like the 60s being a time of exploration and being a time of hope and being a time of like everything is possible. And so trying to take that kind of theme and build a different universe where technology went in a different direction, but still kept some of that 60s retro style to it. And that clip he cut together, again, you can watch it online. It's leaked kind of all over the place, but being in that room and not expecting anything, like we didn't expect the cast to come out, and then the cast came out, and then seeing that clip with the sound, it was like, holy shit. I think that, to me, yes, Robert Downey Jr. stole the show for a lot of people, but for me being in that room, that was the biggest announcement. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm so hyped for Fantastic Four. It looks perfect.
You think it's going to be better than the last three Fantastic Fours?
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I think so.
It's Matt Shackman has a style. Like if you like some of the most influential episodes of Game of Thrones were directed by him. Like Battle of the Bastards was him.
Okay.
He has his own look, but he also blends comedy. I mean, think about WandaVision. Like WandaVision may not be one of those shows you always go back and watch, but there's things you remember about it because of how stylistic every episode was, and I feel like he's bringing a lot of that. And he's really unique. Like I think this is a really smart choice bringing him because he understands Marvel, he understands humor, and he has his own style. So I think all those three, that trifecta right there, is going to make him a perfect director for this movie. And man, the chemistry between all the cast, the way like Eben and Joseph Quinn kind of like are bumping each other, trying to give each other crap, along with the way Vanessa Kirby looks at Pedro Pascal, like it really feels like they're in love. It does so much with so little. And then at the end, they had this, like, the Fantastic Car kind of floating above everybody and then onto the stage over this retro futuristic skyline. It was like, damn, it was so cool. I thought that was, like, one of the dopest things. So, yeah. And then, of course, you're right, you get the Russo brothers back and all these different Dooms on stage. And they're doing this, like, stack cup things, you know, where you stick something under a cup and you mix it all around. Basically, finally, like a green cloaked Doom comes up front, and then he takes off his mask. Boom, RDJ. But it took me a good people were already cheering, and I was still like,
Who's that guy?
Is that who?
Right.
I was like, that's Robert Downey Jr.
Is that Sherlock Holmes?
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, he's
Sherlock Holmes.
Holmes.
That's funny.
He's got.
That's
But
funny,
like,
cool.
I was so surprised by it, and they're like, yeah, this is who we have to play Doom, and yeah. So I don't know. Out of all that, what was your guys' thoughts seeing that? Because I'm sure you saw it on like social media and everything.
No, Scott, go, Scott.
I get it. It's I love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. Like, don't get me wrong, like he's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of like in that.
I feel hesitation coming.
It's just that I'm also a little bit in that camp of like, oh, like there's definitely other actors that could kill Doom, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, and it doesn't mean we won't get that because, you know, variants, whatnot, doesn't mean there's only one Doom. You know, there's so much that we don't know. It's dumb for me to be like, I'm angry or there's only one Doom and it's RDJ. Like, you know,
Right. Why would they do that?
Yeah. But it makes sense. I mean, the way Marvel's going, I mean, Deadpool references it in the movie, you know, like he joined Marvel at a low point. It makes sense to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. Like he's the, you know, he was like what started it all too, you know, Iron Man. So it makes sense. Russo brothers.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah.
I think to your point, Scott, like if they do bring in other people, that could definitely be the case. In terms of saving the quote unquote timeline or the franchise or the company by bringing back RDJ, who they know everybody already loves, to kind of help rekindle it because we went away from Jonathan Majors. They X'd out essentially Kang the Conqueror. So, I mean, it was that's not a terrible move, I think, on Disney's part. So, interesting choice. Will it work? Probably. Can they pivot? Can they pivot from that and not make it just about that? Hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm also assuming they're going to do like because there were definitely just because, I mean, here's the thing. So there's people who like don't really read comics like we do or like watching as much as we do. So they're like, they can't even wrap their head around it. They're like, but he's Iron Man. Like, why? How could he even? And I'm like, well, it doesn't mean he's not though. Like he could very well be an Iron Man that takes a route where he's Doctor Doom. You know, this could be a world where that happens or something. So, and then they spin it from there. We're gonna get Secret Wars. So, it's not like it doesn't have to be the Doom that we all know. Like we could get that Doom later. Like maybe he's the bigger bad. I don't know. You know, anything can happen. But it makes sense to be like, let's throw a big name in there. Like everyone, like you're saying, everyone loves Robert Downey Jr. It's gonna spike the entrance of all the people who kind of just gave up already. Any Marvel show or movie coming out, like no matter how many times they let me down already, I'm still gonna check it out. But there's people who are like, nah, I'm done.
What's let you down?
Bro, that means I spent money and I'm like, oh, man.
Oh, where there's just a little bit of like, man, that could have been better. That kind of
where it's like, I'm constantly trying to tell myself like same thing like Kevin Smith. Like I try and remind myself like, dude, we're living in a time where we get superhero things at like
Right.
a
Yeah.
crazy, like I mean, I should be grateful, like, and I am,
Mhm.
but it's so hard to not compare. Sometimes be like, like it could be so great, especially when you see
Yeah.
little holes in the script. You're like, I feel like if that was just this and that, then this
Right.
could have been amazing. But
I'll tell you what let me
I
down.
digress.
I know Thor: Love and Thunder. Like for some reason that is my go-to. Like I've watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
Mm,
You
It's
know,
good.
and I'm like, why did they do this? So yes, I understand. I think that
Yeah.
let me know. But other than that, that maybe in She-Hulk. But other than that, I've kind of liked everything like something about all the other properties, but those 2 things. But yeah. So you know who does a really good video about Tony Stark becoming Doctor Doom? Comic
mm-hmm,
Explained. He did this video about how in this other world, rather than Reed Richards showing up to the dorm room with Victor Von Doom, it's actually Tony Stark, and that Victor Von Doom and Tony work on this project where he thinks it's for one thing, turns out it's another, and basically Doctor Doom swaps bodies with Tony Stark, and so that
right.
is like it's like a variant one-off type of situation, but instead of that all kind of works out the way it should in the end of that story, but instead you have it so that Doom now just stays Tony Stark with all of his money and wealth and looks like him and everything. So I think that would be a cool way to do it. I'm super on board. It sounded like a really interesting story, but there have been other variant stories out there over the last like 20 years about it. So yeah, it seems in a weird way like a safe choice and like an odd choice, but I also think like, wow, what a badass choice at the same time. Like so cool. I think he's gonna.
Yeah, because
He's gonna
at
kill
least
it.
we know he could kill it. Like if he wasn't
Yeah.
Iron Man, we didn't have that history. We'd be pumped. You know what I mean?
Super.
So
Yeah.
he's such a good actor. Like I don't doubt his ability. So yeah, I'm on board still.
Definitely. Well,
Yeah.
I think the good times are already rolling, and maybe Marvel is coming back because we got Deadpool and Wolverine. It's already crushing the box office, and it had, I think, it was like almost the biggest opening for an R-rated movie ever, and now it is the biggest R-rated movie gross of all time domestically,
Yup.
beating another Jesus, Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Thoughts on that? Because I definitely have watched it twice.
I mean, you're just both of you are adding to this this count of global conspiracy to make this movie go into the fucking billions. It's probably going to be the highest grossing movie until something else better than it comes out. But 824 million globally is kind of crazy, especially I mean, in what, 2 weeks,
Yeah,
bruh,
a little over 2 weeks.
bruh.
Yeah. I mean, and it's nice that there's nothing really out right now that's like just as big that's competing.
right,
Like
yeah,
just has to share the weekend. Like
Or
Barbenheimer.
interesting,
There's nothing like that going on. Just
True.
imagine how much money those would have made individually had they not, because people decided like, I gotta only pick one. Most people
Right.
saw both, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But it
But
forced
they
you
could
to
have saw
go
it
to one of
twice,
them. At
right?
All. Yeah. It forced you to go to one of them at least, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
But like us, we saw Deadpool twice. I it's so funny. Like I have to say, I think it's maybe because like sometimes work is hard and you get tired, and I'm older now.
Mm-hmm.
Watching that movie the first time around, I didn't realize maybe how long I like shut my eyes for a second. Because
No.
when I
Yeah.
watched it the second time, um, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it,
Yep.
the whole part with Nice Pool and him using him as a shield and then stopping there and going like,
Yeah.
"You're gonna say you'll make it," like that whole. I'm like, wow, I missed all this.
Oh, really?
Like,
That was one of the best parts.
I
He's
know.
like, oh,
So
you're gonna regenerate. It's fine. And he's like, I'm gonna what?
he's like,
And then the
regenerate.
blood's just spilling out of his mouth.
No, and then after that, he picks him up,
Yeah.
uses
And
him,
He's a shield.
and then Wolverine just picks up Dogpool and just like walks across, and everyone's like, "Oh, they put away their guns."
yeah.
That was, but I'm kind of glad that I got like one of the funniest scenes for
Again.
like a kind of
Yeah, like,
again.
for the
So it was
first
like
time,
it made it
right.
fresh. Like it was. It is a really great movie. Just
Yeah.
don't watch movies when you're tired, guys. Okay, because
Yeah. which happened a lot. I mean, yeah, just
It's
truth
hard
be told,
sometimes nowadays.
Furiosa, I definitely knocked out at one part, and so bad because I was sitting next to like the person who set up the screening and everything. But
Those
whatever.
damn reclining chairs, man. I gotta
Yeah.
just stop reclining.
I'm not getting invited back. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, man.
But,
Damn.
yeah, it is such a good movie, and there's so many little details. And is it a perfect movie? No, but is it perfect for what the MCU needed right now? I think so. It was fun. It uses the multiverse well. It's over the top. It shows respect to the characters. It gives reverence to these worlds. And then at the end of the day, like, it doesn't diminish anything that happened in like the Fox Marvel movies. If anything, it showed the value of those things, and I think that was great. Like, it's just a really good, fun movie. And what else? What else do you need? You know, it's like I want to have a good time. And even so, it's funny. Like after Deadpool Wolverine, you're right. He puts on the cowl right after Nice Pool is completely gone, head's gone, and all that stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Wolverine pulls on the cowl, and they go through, and they're like, "Oh, I get to kill 100 of you." Yes. I was like, okay, how are they gonna kill them? Because literally, Deadpool gets ripped in half in Deadpool 2 by the Juggernaut and is fine and just grows back the baby legs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just was like, dude, how are they going to kill these guys? So, of course, they go through everybody and then they start regenerating. And I was like, duh. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised by that.
I was
don't
also
know.
thinking though, I was like, so I guess like Ryan Reynolds, he said he's Deadpool Prime, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, man, he's got maybe the fastest regeneration. Because some of these
Oh,
guys
yeah,
got knocked
maybe.
out early and they're just like out until the end of it. Some of them,
Right.
like, it didn't seem crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas that fight in the car with Wolverine, like, he's getting like stabbed in the face.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
everywhere.
his
Through
arms
the
like
head.
completely, and it's like, and just like fixes. Like, he's
yeah.
maybe the more you get messed up, like the quicker you, I don't know,
better
like
you
he's just
heal.
so good at
Yeah.
healing now. But yeah, they went down for a while.
Yeah.
So good
Yeah.
though. It's such a good time.
Yeah.
It's such a good, that's a great movie. You believe that Wolverine's arms are mostly CGI'd, right?
And abs.
Definitely.
No,
They
I
look
just
good.
I feel like that's real. Like Hugh Jackman, he put in the work, man.
Yeah. He's called huge,
sure he-
jacked man.
That's
Nice.
why it's a lie, dude.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You believe that conspiracy?
Yeah, dude.
Idiots.
They just spoon fed you that.
No,
No,
but that was a good pull.
I'm sure it's a mix.
Yeah. I don't know, but it was great. I want to see like hopefully there's deleted scenes. You know, if like they sell the movie, like I'm definitely buying this trilogy. You know, like Deadpool 1, 2, and 3, like the
Yep.
box set. Like this will be one I'll buy because I'll go back and watch these movies, and I have. I went back and watched Deadpool 1 and 2 for this movie, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
these movies were so fun, and they were doing something Fox wasn't doing at the time, and it's like. It's got a signature, just like we were talking about with Fantastic Four. Like that has a feeling of a director, of an artist. Like say what you want about any of the Mad Max films, whatever, but like those have a style to it, and I like that. And I think this one, it does because it has Ryan Reynolds in there, and yeah, I loved it. I think they deserve it. Seeing like imagine three of us, like someone's like, here, we'll give you $50 million to go make a movie. And then you get to go do it with your best friends, and then that movie is like a hit. It makes $1 billion. Like, and then you travel around the world with them. You get to promote it and do funny skits and stuff. Like, they live the dream. Like, that's the dream for me.
That's that's like the ideal. I'm sure that's the situation they all got into the business for.
Yeah, right.
They're like, I want to make an awesome movie. I want to have fun doing it. Travel with people I like. Like that's so ideal. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And you
it's-
feel happy seeing them happy doing it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I do. And like even when they were on all the talk shows and they were doing Hot Ones and the Tonight Show or whatever, like all these different things, they were having a blast. And even all the interviews together, they were like joking around and like, can we say this? Can we not say this? Oh, well, I bet you want to say it. Like that kind of stuff is just so good, you know? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that side, like those guys crushed it. I'm on board with any movie that they want to come back and see. Like they at least got me for one ticket. I'll go check it out.
I agree.
So cool. I think that brings us into reviews now. And the first one is just a quick little movie that I've been wanting to see. The directors talked about it at WonderCon. I did kind of like a short little tidbit review about it on Instagram. You can check that out. But basically, it's on Peacock right now. It's called Abigail. It's a horror comedy. Definitely leans more towards the horror, I will say. But the comedy,
Horror or horror?
Both,
can I
bro.
not say this?
Check it out.
Horror. Why can I
Horror
not?
comedy.
What
Okay.
are you calling me, dude? Take
Yeah,
it
dude. What's
easy.
going on, dude?
There's a bunch of sluts in this comedy.
It
right
happened
Whoa,
now.
one
damn.
time, dude. I don't think
Yeah,
I need to be
no, I'm
called
just
that.
kidding.
I know. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a horror comedy.
Oh, okay. Oh,
But it
horror.
is.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
It was fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. The cast is all great. There's like some really dumb jokes in there, but it kind of does some things that flips things on its head when it comes to like vampires. I don't think that's like a surprise. I think you could see that in the trailer, but yeah, it's kind of a cool premise. Like these villains all seem like they're kidnapping this girl to get paid out, but like that's not what happens. And it's just a good time. Everybody's having black. I love Dan Stevens. You know, like Dan Stevens he's such an underrated actor to me. He was recently in King Kong, The New Empire, I think it was called. But he was Legion in that FX show, and where he's playing all those different personalities. He was so good. And then he was also in Euro something. It was like the singing one with Will Ferrell and Rachel
Eurovision?
Eurovision, is that what it is? Yeah, he was the Russian guy in Eurovision that was trying to steal Rachel
the
McAdams.
lion.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's also in Downton Abbey.
Oh, yes.
That's a little too highbrow for me. Makes sense.
Big
Why didn't
character.
see it? Yeah, there you go. But he's great in this. He plays like a Brooklyn cop. And Melissa Barrera's in this too, and she's like the queen of like scary movies and all that stuff lately. So yeah, it was just a ton of fun. I did not like the ending, but if you want like something over the top and just like there's a ton of gore in it and blood, but like some funny jokes, and it's not too scary. Check out Abigail on Peacock.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
do it.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
The ending sucks though. I will say I hated the ending.
Just turn it off early, huh?
Yeah, you could watch it. Maybe you'll like the ending, but for me, I was like, God, they didn't need to go that far with
You're
it.
like, well, that's an ending.
Yeah. But I was like, 75% of this movie, like I really like. So yeah, that's fun. So that is Abigail. All right, what's next? Take it away, Scotty.
Oh, yeah. Scott.
Oh yes. Yeah. Right. I have it right here.
Are you talking about what?
Talking about Batman and
Batman.
the Caped
Yeah.
Crusader.
Yeah.
Yes,
Crusader
on
the
Amazon
Capes.
Prime.
All right.
Quite good.
Half Kiwi,
Batman,
half
the Caped
Australian,
Crusader.
half British.
Yeah. This is Batman. You know, he's a little bit of everything, depending on where you're watching him, and where he's located in time.
Gotham.
Really?
Gotham. Yeah, mainly Gotham. I don't know what that was, dude. I'm gonna stop.
Jeez.
It's
Getting wild, dude.
Whoa.
Getting great.
Whoa, horrors? What? Jesus, take it
Horror,
easy.
You're gonna
dude.
sound like
Relax.
Gambit in a little bit.
Just tell
Who
everybody
was your
right now.
dialect coach?
The Minions?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so Batman, the Caped Crusader. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Thomas and I got about halfway through the season. Drake
Mhm.
got about 15 minutes
into the first episode. Yep.
season.
Yeah.
I'm actually really enjoying it right
Okay.
now. For me, definite the nostalgia's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it reminds me of the old animated series. What's cool is it's got fresh new takes on things. It's kind of dark.
Okay.
There's actually a part in the first app that we will get to once we both kind of give our thoughts on like how we roughly feel so far. But it's good. I'm really digging it. I think the writing's on point, and it kind of gives me that like Saturday morning cartoon feel. Like it's kind of cool to see like
Yeah.
a new cartoon. It'd be unfair to compare it to X-Men 97 because X-Men 97 was like so like good, but like also its
Right.
own thing. But
It's very
or, like,
different.
What about?
very different tones?
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. What about
But
OG
I do like it.
animated Batman?
the thing is, I haven't watched the OG in a long time, but there's enough of this that reminds me of that, and I feel like almost like a little kid again. But also, I don't think little kid version of me should see. I don't know, like I don't remember
Right.
seeing it, but there's parts in this where I'm like, this isn't for kids, it's for adults.
Mm.
Like
That's
there's some
exactly what
dark
I thought
stuff,
too.
but
Yeah.
I dig it.
Right.
Yeah.
So before I give my interpretation, Drake, why did you only get 15 minutes in? Because I think this is gonna relate to what I'm gonna have to say.
Okay, so I was like, oh, this is new. I liked the Batman animated series back in the day. I liked what that brought. Very similar, kind of like a updated animation style. And then I get into the episode, and I'm like, okay. So we're kind of like very stereotypical scene where it's a dark alley. There's lots of shipping containers. Batman does his thing. They don't really know what's going on. And then it pans to a courtroom, and I'm like, they're talking about some stuff. I haven't really seen Bruce Wayne yet. I haven't seen anybody who is the main bad guy. So they're doing a lot of exposition in that situation, setting up for the rest of the series, I presumed. But in the 15 minutes, I wasn't like, oh, wow, this is new and exciting and intriguing. I'm gonna forego doing, house chores and other activities to watch the rest of the episode. And that's where it left me. But according to both of you, it's worth the watch, and I trust your opinions. So,
Well, let me take it away on what you just said because I agree with you. When
oh,
I first put
damn.
it on, I was like doing stuff or like maybe laundry or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, like I don't really get the hype, and I didn't stick it out. And then you do your thing at late at night. I'm like scrolling through threads. Everyone's like, Caped Crusader's amazing. Caped Crusader, oh my god, this is so good. Man, this reminds me of a little kid. I'm like, did I not watch the same thing? Like, am I wrong here? So I went back and I was like, okay, I had nothing to do at that point. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this. And after I sat down and fully devoted my attention to the first episode, I was like, oh, I get it now. And then the second episode kicks off, and then before I know it, I was like, holy shit, I'm starting episode 5, or you know what I mean? So it starts slow,
Yeah.
but then all of a sudden as it goes on, like you start seeing the animated series. You like it's a different rendition of it, but there's like this noir style, and you're like it's in a weird time frame where you're like I can't tell if this is the 50s or modern day or like what time period is this. So there's that element. It took also like I got used to the Batman voice. I'm like, it's not Kevin Conroy,
Yeah.
but it's like, and the actor said, he's like, I wasn't trying to do a Kevin Conroy, I was trying to find my own thing. But then he does. And like, there is a distinct difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman. And when he's got Batman
Yeah.
voice on, it's like, no jokes. Like, it's all business.
Mhm.
So yeah, I had to pay attention. Weirdly, it was almost like Shogun. Like, you can't be on your phone and watch Shogun. You have to like pay attention.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention.
Right, and like for
Yeah.
some reason, this new Batman cartoon very much feels like that. And there's like a lot of little things that you have to catch that paint the world. Like the cops are talking about, like, man, instead of us having to patrol this area, they should really like build it up so that we could get some like more life back in. And it's like little comments where you're like, this whole political system is being explained to you if you pay attention. So yeah, I'm like, damn, there's things for kids. Don't get me wrong. I think kids will like it, but I also think like there are a lot of high concepts in here that I barely get as a mid 30-year-old. Like it could go over my head. I'm like, damn, it's good. It's good writing. It is really good writing.
Right. And they feel similar, and like they could all be kind of one-offs, but there's enough in there to keep a through line. Like
Right.
Bullock and
That too.
Flash are like trying to work their way up. So by kind of spoilers, like by the 4th episode, they're doing more shady stuff to put them in a position where they're pushing the commissioner out, or like James Gordon. I'm not sure if he's not the commissioner yet, but he's like
Right,
leading.
and he's working his way up too, which is cool. Barbara is like fine; she is not doing any type of crime fighting. It's like she just kind of works as an attorney or something for her dad, or not for her dad. Like they're on the same side, obviously, because they're good guys. But she's like doing something for the courts. Harley Quinn's not fully Harley Quinn yet. Clay, he's meeting all the villains for the first time, which
In a
is
cool way too. Like they all
yeah.
like blend together nicely, and you can see their reasons for doing things. Like it's pretty strong, tight storytelling in each little
Yeah.
episode. Like I'm really digging it. Yeah, and then you see like especially in the beginning, you see like executive producers Bruce Timm, J.J.
And
Abrams, and
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves, and like that whole like you see Matt Reeves like, oh okay, like it really does have like this detective aspect to it. Like he's really
Right.
doing work. You see him as Bruce Wayne being like the silly like, oh whatever, and then like doing stuff, and then afterwards he's like, "Oh, I tried to see if she would like take the bribe, and she doesn't. So I think I can trust her going forward." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, sick!" Like,
Yeah, he
he's
like
like,
uses the Bruce Wayne persona to like try to set people up to see if they're crooked or straight, which is
yeah,
so like interesting. You're like, damn, that's clever. Like I've never seen that done in any Batman thing before.
yeah, and I like to. We're seeing more Bruce Wayne. Like I'd have to go back and watch the original, because it really has been a while. But
Yeah,
I don't.
the
Like
animated
I
series.
remember more Batman, of course, than Bruce Wayne. But I remember him like entering a dinner party and like having to leave real soon or something, right? But in
Hmm.
this, I do like the dialogue where he's like when he gets off when he gets back on the boat and he says like that joke, and like Barbara's like, and like leaves.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
turns to these ladies, says the same joke, and they're like, haha, and he's like, yeah, like, and I'm like, it's very like he's playing into that character of like what Bruce Wayne, like he's trying to portray, like
Right.
he's like this
Billionaire
cheesy, like,
playboy.
but yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and we're seeing more of that, and also reminded like he's using it to his advantage, and it's
Hmm.
cool.
It
I'm
is
digging it.
cool. Yeah. One of like the writers that you guys know I'm a big fan of, Mark Bernard, and he writes episode 5, which I thought episode 5 was a really good episode. But it kind of goes into like Batman discovering magic for the first time, and his whole thing is like, this isn't real, like magic's not real. And if you know the comics like we have or other things down the line, it's like he has to deal a lot with different magical based characters, right? Whether it's Zatanna or there is that goblin character. I'm forgetting what it's like a demon. He was also in the Sandman. I'm completely forgetting his name right now. But anyways, or Constantine, right?
Constantine.
Yeah. And so we see like this is Batman's first introduction to something that's like more
Etrigan.
Etrigan, thank you.
Yep.
That's it. Nailed
Oh,
it.
nice,
Drake.
nice, nice, nice,
But
nice.
yeah, so it's like him discovering these. So it's kind of like it's not like Batman year 0, but it might be like Batman year 2 or something, you know? And like because of his influence, it's now creating, which is a common thing, like crazier villains out there. And they're becoming more and more bombastic, I guess. But I just thought that was very well done. And also somebody that Mark had on Fat Man Beyond, Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker has written for everybody, Marvel, DC. One of his like biggest characters that we all come to know is the Winter Soldier. So he created the Winter Soldier. So it was interesting knowing that this podcast happened where he was on the show 2 years ago. I couldn't help but think from there, Ed was probably like, Mark, do you want to come on and try to write an episode?
That's
And then,
cool.
from there, like, yeah, so I don't know. This is just me, like, my behind the scenes trying to connect the dots. But
Yeah.
I can imagine because that was a very great episode having Ed Brubaker on Fat Man Beyond talking to Mark and then going, and now Mark is on Ed Brubaker's show. So I thought that was, like, really kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like, if you don't mind, do you mind a little spoiler?
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
talk about the
please.
first episode. So
yeah.
there was a
Oh, not me.
for me there was a
It's
turning
fine by
point.
me.
No, yeah. Oh, I guess in the viewers, like if they haven't watched it yet, this is like a little bit of a spoiler, but hopefully it's like this is the part of the show where I was like, wow, this is like I don't remember the cartoon being this dark when I was a kid, but maybe it went over my head, you know? But
Mhm.
in the first episode, it's the Penguin. Penguin is a lady in this, but for me it works. She kind of reminded me of Big Mom in One Piece, if you've gotten that far in One Piece, guys. But just like you could be just as dark. And like there's a part in this where someone is like someone convinces her that her kid is like leaking information
Yeah.
to the outside, and she takes her two kids like into the hull of the ship, and there's like an opening, and she like kind of like has them like going back and forth at each other like, ah, it was him, it was him, it was him. And she's like, ah, no, I'm just like, I'm not even mad, like I just want to know who did it. And then they kind of weren't answering, and she's like, oh, I already know who did it. And then like she picks one of the kids. They're not really kids, they're adults, but
One of her
you can
kids.
tell like they're terrified of her their whole life.
Mhm.
And he's like, please, mom, it's not me, it really's not, it's not me. And he's crying, and she's like, they stuff him in like in a trunk,
Mhm.
and they just dump him into the ocean, and you just see him like
Sink to the bottom.
just sink.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, she just murdered her child.
By
I was like,
like a torturous way too. It
tortures
was-
away just because she's like, I'm pretty sure he's leaking information. Like,
Right.
I was like, wow, she cares little for her family. I was like, this. I was like, that was dark for a cartoon. I dig it.
Yeah.
And granted, we watch Invincible and all this kind of stuff, and like,
Right.
it's funny. I mean, just because it's so nostalgic, it almost gets I assume how dark it's gonna get, and I was just like, wow, that was pretty dark.
Yeah, it's
Um,
unexpected for
yeah,
me. Like I was like,
yeah,
dang, did not expect it to go there. Or yeah, like the Firebug episode, like the way
yeah,
his arc goes and the way it ends, you're like, geez, that's messed up. You know,
yeah.
those cops set him up, and then you know what happens happens, and it's like, dang, this is yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's weird because we've gotten a lot of these kind of nostalgic cartoons that are revamped, and you're like, is this for kids or is not for kids? Maybe it's because we can pay attention or like we realize more now. But you're like, wow, there's definitely something here for adults that it like rivals some of that stuff that you're talking about. You know, like
That, and it
like
doesn't.
an
It didn't
Invincible.
necessarily need to be gruesome either.
Right.
Like you're saying, the Firebug episode, little, I guess another little spoiler, but it was just like a little. There's a part where like he gets his suit on,
Mm-hmm.
and then like he sees the world, he sees the street, kids playing in the street, and then he puts his goggles on, and he sees just everything on fire, and you see like these kids playing on fire, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what? Like it's not too gruesome or anything, but
Hmm.
real like look into like how sadistic he is, and he's like kind of
Yeah.
smiles like yes, and he runs
Yeah.
off and like I'm gonna start this, and you're like damn, like that was beautifully done,
Mm-hmm.
got the message across, and yeah, again I was just like wow, it's pretty fucking dark. I love it. Like it was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's really good, and it seemingly gets better every episode. I will say, like,
Mhm.
because you kind of like are reintroduced to this world and how it operates. But the voice cast, I think, is phenomenal. Right? We
Right.
got Harmish Linklater as Batman Bruce Wayne, and he does a really good job. Like I said, changing him. Jamie Chung plays Harley Quinn. Minnie Driver is Oswaldo Cobblepot. Diedrich Bader is Harvey Dent, which is like you can see how Harvey Dent is transitioning. Christina Ricci is Catwoman. Like there's like a great cast to this. McKenna Grace is Natalia Knight. Like there's some a really good voice cast.
You got
Around this.
John DiMaggio as Bullock. He's the
Oh, there you go. Yeah, yeah,
famous voice actor.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
he
So
does.
like,
Oh, what's the dog's name in Adventure Time? Um, famous for that. Famous for Bender.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, Bender. Yeah.
Right, right.
oh, it's Bender too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, really well done story. Like to your point, Drake, it took me. I really had to sit down and pay attention in that first episode, and then I was like, okay,
I
I'm
agree.
good. Yeah.
It
so
almost felt like Batman SVU to me, like a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit. Kind of like
Yeah.
you gotta like let the episode build, and then you're like, oh, you're in it. You know?
Yeah, you had me at
Yeah.
Mariska Hargitay, so
there you go.
Mariska.
Too bad she wasn't in the first episode. You'd have been locked and loaded.
I would have been locked
Yeah.
and loaded. Too.
True.
But yeah. So Batman Caped Crusader, we'll definitely have to talk about it more once we all wrap it up. But I'm really digging it. I think they killed it so far, and it's completely different tone than very very much darker in some ways than X-Men '97, but very true to kind of the source material. So pretty cool.
Okay.
Now let's get into something else that's kind of been a little. I'll just say it like it wasn't what I expected. It was a really good episode, but I didn't love it for a finale, and that's House of the Dragons finale for season 2.
Okay.
A lot of buildup. I saw someone say like it was like a funny picture of somebody just making like a weird like a huh face, and it was like when you realize season 2 of House of the Dragon is really just the trailer for season 3, because
Right.
like
Yeah, I heard
it's
that a
just
lot. Yeah, the
all-
finale was a huge setup for.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
And
I mean, I
was.
get, because if that saves us from like that one dark episode we got with where the Night King or whatever comes, and it's summed up in one episode, like this whole build up,
Oh,
and
you
it
literally
ends.
meant like physically dark, or you couldn't see it.
That was
Nobody could see
physically
it?
dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were just talking about another version of dark earlier.
Yeah,
But
that episode was
um,
black.
it was in darkest night. That's
Yeah.
it. But yeah, like something that was such a build up and then they rush it. I'd rather have them set up. So I mean, I totally get it. I did think there'd be a little more, but man, am I hyped for season 3? Like
Yeah. But there's there's so much expectation. Like this episode was great, right? We get all the relationships coming to a head, right? We see what happened with Aemon, we see what happens with Aegon, we see what happens with the dragon seeds, and now all of these dragon seeds have their own dragons. Rhaenyra basically has like her cards in her hand are fully loaded. Like she's got a full house. and it seems like everything's been flipped upside down. Man, I just made like. I felt like I was about to do a Fresh Prince reference.
Flip that up.
I know. I was like, oh, God.
I heard the beat in my head when you.
Yeah,
was, when
me
you
too.
said
Get that
When I
sitcom's
was-
name out of your mouth.
Yeah. Dude, Will Smith will
Nice.
get you, dude. We talked about this.
But yeah, I literally, as it was coming out of my mouth too, I felt like, am I rapping this all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, just shut up.
Did I just
Um,
rap? Sorry, guys.
My
Yeah.
bad.
But literally, everybody's world is flipped upside down, and and then it ends. You know, there's a few emotional points, but it's like, okay, like, you know, you think of Game of Thrones and you think of like, there's something during the season that's just absolutely crazy, and then some of the finales are like, holy shit, what's gonna happen next season? But it feels like that holy shit moment is gonna come at the start of season 3.
Right. And I hope it's the whole episode and not just the first 15 minutes is done or something.
Right.
There were a couple things in this episode of like, you just come to realize like, you know, well, Damon finally like, I guess realized that this place just does things to you, right?
Yeah.
Because he said he's like this when that person heard traitor, he was like, you hear
Yeah.
that? He's like, this place will do that. Like he's finally come to realize, which is funny because I'm like, this guy's been here the whole season, right?
Right.
It was cool for him to see the future thing.
Yeah.
and
how did you feel about that though? How did you feel about him being there the whole season?
I mean, they got the army. I don't know. Like, I feel like those are things where I'm like, I'm sure in the book, it doesn't feel
Yeah. it's
like you're
long.
missing something the whole season. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you're like in the book, it makes sense for him to be there. And then, cause just everything is stretched out equally, but seeing everyone else kind of move forward in their story, what it seems like. And then you see him kind of like slowly learning. I'm like, how, like, it's hard for me to gauge, like, how fucking long is this guy here as long as everyone else is doing their shit? Or is it like,
yeah.
they just want us to see like there was just like a week span versus, you know, I don't know.
Right.
It was just
the
hard to tell
frame was
time.
hard to tell for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And then the showing of what he sees in the tree and he finally sees the dream that they're talking about and everything. That was cool. But also you're like, it's one of those moments you're like, well, I know, because I saw Game of Thrones. Like, you know, so there's kind of that moment. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, what? Oh, shoot. Yeah. For whatever reason, I thought I was going to see something new and it was everything I saw already, you know,
Yeah.
which is
I mean,
cool.
It was
but-
cool because in a way, because it connects things. But you're right. Like, it makes the White Walkers. I don't know. Like, it didn't. Man, this is probably put me in some hot water. I don't care. It kind of looked a little cheap in a way.
Ooh.
Maybe the way it was shown, but it was. But I was excited about it because I'm like, oh, cool! Like he's learning about the Song of Ice and Fire, and he's learning about, you know, why the Valerians or why Targaryens need to be on top, because when the White Walkers come, they need to unite the Seven Kingdoms against them. Like all that stuff. Or you see the Three-Eyed Raven too, which obviously alludes to Bran. Like all that stuff is there, which is cool. But you're like, yeah, but to your point, like, but I know, like,
Yeah, I
know that it
know this
happens.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, okay. He got humbled and he's like, oh, I know my place now. It doesn't matter if what I want, as long as this bigger thing in the end happens.
Right.
So,
Which
I mean,
thought
that's
was
cool.
I thought that was cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like a cool realization because the whole time he's there, he's like, I'm gonna take all this army for myself and I'll be king. And
Yeah.
like it took that vision for him to see, which it very much felt like it was the place, but also like the witch Alice the whole time was kind of maybe manipulating him as
Just
well.
like witch therapy.
yeah,
Ooh.
exactly. She was
Spa.
like witch MDMA for so he could get over his like
Yeah.
need his mommy and
Yeah.
daddy issues or something. I don't know, but like, yeah, that was cool. Like it works, but you know, you're like, there's still so much of this episode left. Like, are we gonna get a battle? And then
Right.
it goes on from there, right?
It was, well, real quick, it was funny to see that guy dig out when he was like, I see you as the queen. Everyone, you know, like the guy was like, hey, you could be king, you know. And then as soon as he's not, he's like, just goes into the crowd. I was like, that
Nice.
guy's fucking dead. Like,
yeah,
it's like, fuck, I picked the wrong side. I think the other thing that was kind of funny to me was I was like, man, and I heard this online and I thought the same thing when I was watching it though. I was like, man, they've been building this ship this whole fucking season, and like
Right.
it's where I guess we'll see it sail next season. Like,
yeah.
it's like this, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, how long does it take to build this damn thing? Like,
No, you're right, Frank. Because Frank and I were talking about it, and he was like, he kind of sucks because you're right. Like it's a badass ship. Like that ship is like the dopest ship in all the seven seas or whatever it is. And he's like they're working on it all season, and like the only time we get to see it ride is for like 10 seconds towards the end in the montage. He's like, what? You know, so yeah, it's just like, you know, all this buildup. We finally get like Adam confronting Corliss. Like, you know, you never treated me like your son or anybody. I never needed anything from you. And now that all your kids are dead and you have nobody to pass things on, now you're trying to help me, you know, like.
That was nice. I did like that though.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. I thought that was a good conversation. You know, what else? Helena calling out Eamon. Like, I know you burned our brother, you know, and
she's like, I saw it.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine, and you're not. Like, you're gonna be dead. And so there was that. Yeah,
there was oh, what's his name? Sorry, I'm scrolling. Larry Strong came in and he was talking to Aegon. Like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
That was great. Another thing, Reyna, she just like got herself lost trying to look for that dragon.
Yeah.
And then she sees it flying, and I'm like, that's your plan, to chase down a plane? Like, you're just like chasing this thing that can fly forever.
Yeah. She got up to it though.
She did. But it was funny seeing her like see water and then like, oh yeah. And then Christine's like, bitch, just follow that river. Like, follow the water.
That's exactly
like,
what I was thinking too.
The dragons gotta drink water too. Like,
Do they?
You'd think. I don't know. Maybe not.
There's water in those pits. I don't know. But that's a good point. But yeah, it was cool. Like, it was cool that I guess she's based off of. This might be the only, like, the biggest deviation from the books. From what Frank was telling me, like, there was a character named Nettle that ends up riding Sheep Sealer or something, and it seems like they've kind of replaced that character with Reyna. And yeah, like I like that they're giving Reyna some agency, and because she never could get a dragon, like she goes out and finds a wild one. I think it's a pretty cool concept.
That's cool. Yeah, she's working hard for it.
She definitely is. But at the end, it's like she reaches out towards it, and it's like done. You're like, okay, I guess she gets it, but still, we don't see her claim the dragon. Or, you know, it's basically all I'm trying to say is like all these examples are just set up. Like it's just set up for something, and but I think what was meant to be the big crux of the whole episode and be the biggest part is we see in the early season Rhaenyra sneaks in to go talk to Alicent. While now the rules are reversed, Rhaenyra has everything, and she tells and then Alicent shows up to basically offer her, hey, you can have King's Landing, you can have everything, just like spare me, spare my daughter, and if you can't, spare Aegon. And she's like, nope, can't do that. Yeah,
like he's got it, and like, and out of all of them, like he's got to die. She's saying, like, I gotta have his head. Like, they're not gonna respect me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we've gone too far.
Yeah, and I thought that was it was a great conversation. But again, all of this, like, for a finale and for that to be one of the most impactful points, is a little bit of a letdown. I don't know how you can, you know, shape it any other way. Like, maybe Frank was saying, like, one of the next battles to show up is a ship battle where like the dragon seeds are involved. Yeah, and it's a pretty dope battle. Like, why could they not? They could have maybe skipped one episode of Daemon running around the castle like, I'm hallucinating, you know? And finished this season with the ship battle. I don't know. But
would you have preferred...
Oh, sorry, go Drake.
No, would you have preferred, like, leading up into the ship battle, and then ship battle, and then something, then end scene, and then next season continue on the ship battle, getting more crazy? Or would you have preferred full-on ship battle the whole time? Because if they're bridging into season 3, it would be nice to start on something that's more poignant.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do that in a season, but they did it in an episode of Game of Thrones, I think like season 4, where there was like a ship coming in, and it's like right in the middle of the battle, and then the episode cuts, and then the next episode starts, and it's like kind of the end of the battle. Yeah. So it's like they could have done that. They have precedent for that. So
yeah, or I mean, I don't know. Like, could they have? There's a couple things. Like, could they have made this season just a little longer just to get that? Because if the show's good and the story's strong, then you could still end on like a super huge thing, and then people are still gonna tune in for the next thing. You know, if you're worried about that.
Yeah.
Also, if they, I think sometimes the verbiage or whatnot, like if they've worded this like a they split seasons into two. Like this is like mid-season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a long season, or something.
Like
Like
part
people
one,
I feel
part
like
two.
more willing to like not like to get something like this than to like um feel like they're just like what the fuck, dude? Like why like, they feel like they got screwed over, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, I
I
don't
didn't
know.
feel screwed over, but I know that there's probably a big part of the internet that did. It was like,
Yeah.
what? Like
Yeah,
that's
that was
it?
a little harsh. I didn't feel
Yeah.
screwed over, but um yeah, actually like I kind of liked it, and then the more I thought, like I was reading about it and I was like, yeah, I guess
The-
I
it
don't like
wasn't as
it.
strong as it was. Like,
right.
You had your own opinion, then you read others' opinions, and you're like, I like
yeah,
that
like
opinion better.
I'm wrong, they're right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's
But
funny
like,
because
oh, yeah.
Christine read this, but it was like a long time ago. So she was like, "Oh, I wonder if this season's gonna end the way I think it will, or they're gonna not do it right now." And I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay." So then I'm watching, like already in my mind, and then as it felt like it was going long, I was like, "Well, they're probably not gonna do that thing then that she said."
Yeah.
So
Which was
I guess
what,
it
the
was a
ship
more
battle?
accepting. She didn't even say. She was like, "You want me to ruin it?" I'm like, no, don't say anything.
Ah, okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
I guess I was a little more. I'm like, okay, well, I guess they're not gonna get to that thing. But she was like, because it's freaking cool when it happens, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, so I guess even more so. I'm like, well, when it finally does, I want it to be done right.
Mhm.
Kind of like, and then that's when I thought back to that episode when we saw like the Night Walkers coming in, and like I kind of wish that was like the whole show led to this. Like even
Right,
this is
right,
leading
right.
to that. It should have been a better.
Something on a high note, right? Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I saw another comment that was like, or another post that said, this was a really good House of Dragon episode. It wasn't a good finale, and I'm like, yeah, that I
Yeah,
feel
that
like
nails
that
it.
sums it up for me. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. I was like,
it's right.
wow, well said. Because it is. It's a good episode. It's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting, and all the characters, and like when you look at how everybody starts it at the beginning of the season to now, they really did change a lot of things in their life. So it's like, wow, this is cool to see that transition. It's just kind of boring when you look at it on paper. Like when you really think about like what happened, you lay it out. It's like
Yeah.
this person talks to this person, person runs away with this person talks to this person. It's like okay, there's a lot of good conversations, but it's not like it's not exciting. And there was some very exciting moments throughout this season with Rhaenys, with that whole battle of Rook's Rest was just like incredible.
Oh, it starts the episode with something cool that just happened, but we didn't see it. Like Aemon goes
Yeah.
and he burns down a town,
Oh right.
and we just
Yeah.
see the town, and he's like, "Yeah, I did that," and he flies off, and I'm
right,
like,
right, right.
"You
Okay,
can
Right.
show
yeah.
that or something." I don't know, like a scene, like
Totally. Yeah, and then they also like they start us off in Essos, like it has more like Middle Eastern aesthetics and everything, and it's like, wait, who are these people? And they're like, oh, it's the Triarchy, and like I barely remember them from season one, and then Tyrion Lannister is asking them for what, and then it's like this whole place is interesting. Okay, I want to know more about this, but I'm like, that's all we get. We got like 15 minutes of it, and it's like back to the other story, and
right,
you're like,
which
well,
definitely felt like a teaser to that. Those are the moments where it definitely feels like a teaser for the next season because you're like,
right.
they introduce a new character.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh,
Tough
I'll only
and
go with someone
respected and
who can like take me down, and then they have that tussle, and she's like, yeah, I want to have your
yeah.
babies. And you're like, who is this lady? Like, and then
Right,
that's all you
right.
see of her. Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. It was so cool. And then also it was like, okay, let's get back to the real stuff. Like,
yeah. You're
what?
like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it pays off at the end a little bit because he's on the ships with them, but it's like,
hmm
I don't know. It just, yeah, it was weirdly done. And yeah, I just kind of wish it maybe had ended on a little bit more exciting note where like the ships are just about to collide and then like a dragon swoops in or whatever. Like Game of Thrones could do that.
Yeah.
But it just,
Yeah.
didn't.
Literally any type of dragon, boat, blade action.
Yeah, I'll take all the
Would've
above.
been tight.
So,
Yeah.
That's true. There was another interesting, like, it was interesting seeing the new dragon riders like interacting um
oh, there was some
with Renair them, and
cocky.
like Ulf the White, just like you're like, bro, like where do you
He,
come off? Like
he was
what the
like
fuck?
P Diddy, man. He just thought he was on top of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna bite
And
him
they're
in the
like,
ass.
check yourself, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, dude, is this guy, he's either gonna turn on them or it's just gonna bite him in the ass, like he's gonna be just too cocky and just get fucked. Like So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's what I hope happens, but it's Game of Thrones. Like, the worst
never
people
know.
live forever, and like your favorite people end up dying soon. So,
Yeah, I feel like he
but
might turn on them or something for a better
yeah,
deal.
ooh, I can see
Would be
that.
nice if he actually like
More
he was a
chicken.
dick, but he actually proved himself, and then they respected him. That'd be a different
Mm,
change of pace.
I like that.
Well, that's what I thought. Like, so, I mean, I hope so though. That's a good point. But I kind of thought that's what that turning point was when he was like, yeah, the whole time he's like, yeah, I'm related, like, yeah, and then they're like, you should, whoa, you are, like, go test yourself, and he's like, then he's doubting himself, like, fuck, am I even related? I don't know, I've been telling this lie, and then he
Mm,
finds out he is, and he gets a dragon. I thought that was his change. He's like, wow, like I am, but he's just like went right back to his like, yeah, that's fucking right, like, and I'm like, who are you, dude? Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
But
yeah.
he's just gotta mature, I guess, or I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. He's gotta get humble. I was like, dude, someone needs to beat his fucking ass. Like,
Jacaerys, I think, is gonna throw down on him, like the
yeah,
sun. I
yeah.
mean, that's what I hope. I hope that the sun comes in and like just wrecks him next
Just
season.
tunes
But
him
we'll
up, and
see.
then he's like, "Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
on
know.
board."
My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my bad, bro.
Sorry, boss. My bad, Jeju.
Sorry, Jeju.
Jeju.
I love
Goddamn
Bob's Burgers.
Jeju.
But yeah, so again, great season overall.
Yeah.
Could have ended, I think, on a higher note, but there were so many cool things that happened this season.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rhaenyra, she has her cards stacked up, and like it seems like it's going to be pretty hard for her to get overthrown or not take the Iron Throne. I don't know who can oppose her besides, like, they have one dragon, they have Vhagar, and Elena's not going to fly. So I don't know. It's going to be good.
Yep.
We'll see. We also have the Hedge Knight that was announced right after they dropped this. They dropped the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which I guess is like George R. Martin's kind of novella. It's a little bit more happy. It's a little bit more upbeat. But it's like this knight who wants to prove himself and his young squire, and they go out on adventures across Westeros. So that should be fun. Looking forward to that. And yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
hedging.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll
Oh,
hedge
one
our
more thing
bets.
before we wrap up, just like
Sure.
a quick thing. If you guys have Max, which I know you do, you're just talking about Game of Thrones and House of Dragons. There's a Spirited Away live action, like live on stage.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
Yeah. How was
and
that?
it's we are almost done with it. It's something like Christina and I are trying to watch, but our schedules right now are kind of crazy. So we've been throwing it on. It's really good. There's two renditions. We're watching one of them, and then halfway through, we're like, oh, there's like a whole nother one. I guess they're touring so much they have like another with like the leads are different people. So I guess maybe they could do every other day or something.
Interesting.
Okay. But
but,
they put both out on Max?
Yeah, so there's both of them on Max with
Wow.
both
That's
leads. So certain
Hmm.
we kind of took a peek. Certain characters that like side characters are like the same, but maybe the stage time is not as demanding, so they could do every show.
Yeah.
But it's cool, like what they're able to do in the live theater format. The certain ways they do things, like the things they do with lighting or shadows or just you're like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna do this, and then you see it, you're like, oh, that's fucking clever. It's just cool. Like it's the way they're able to capture the magic of the animated movie and bring
Right.
it to life on stage is really cool.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, if you got time and you love Spirited Away, I'd say check it out.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely will watch that. I mean,
Yeah.
Christina, for her comfort movies last week while she was preparing for the bar, it was Grease, and then we watched Dirty Dancing.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, she loves
So
Mamma
easy.
Mia. Like, yeah, we watched what is it, Hamilton, like nonstop. The year it came out on Disney Plus. So yeah, I'm gonna
well.
suggest this one. This sounds fun.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
one the one we're watching right now is the lead is Kana Hashimoto, and she's got pink with the pink flowers, and then there's another one with the lead is wearing like a white shirt with the green and the blue, like that's the other one. So, but the one we're watching right now is the one with the red or the pink and the pink flowers.
Yeah, but
It'd
they
be
don't
interesting to
change
go
the
check out the
story,
other one
right?
after. No,
But-
I don't think so, but
Okay.
it's just I'd be interested to see how the other leads just the
Yeah,
way
just
they
compare.
choose to say certain lines or physically do things and whatnot. It'd be interesting to see. But
Yeah.
yeah, so far I'm digging it. It's good.
okay.
Yeah, and yeah, check it out. Maybe Christina will like it too. It's
awesome.
in Japanese.
Okay, right.
So
Oh.
FYI. Yeah, and it's subtitles. It's cool though.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks for that rec. I definitely want to check that out. I think that's
Doing
gonna be
it.
awesome. I love, like, I mean, Hayao Miyazaki's like everything he does is like incredible. So like being able to translate that to the stage, I think is gonna be super cool. I'm on board, man. That sounds great. Well, yeah, I think that's kind of it for tonight, though, guys. Any other final thoughts? Anything else you want to put out there before we wrap this bad boy up?
No.
Now, Doug, loving it.
Drake,
McDonald's.
why don't you close it out for us tonight then?
All right, guys and gals. You know what our final saying is always. Thanks for sticking with us.
All right.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.